Hi everyone, this is Penguin Trades and this is a review for the ES and NQ futures for October 31st. We're going to start off here on the ES and then hop over to the NQ. So this is our overnight high, this is our overnight low, these are our key levels for the day. I started trading at 8 Central Time, which is this area right here. And so right when I started trading here, we're in a conflicted area because since we just came off the overnight low, we can expect price to attempt to reach the highs. This is how range rules work. The overnight levels act as a range, so we can expect price to attempt to reach the highs. The bulls want to reach the highs here. Now that directly conflicts with this downtrend right here because this downtrend has a break. The uptrend is the break from this downtrend, and this downtrend was the first trend of the day. So we have downtrend, break. We can expect price to attempt a new low because that's how trends play out. When a trend gets a break, you can expect price to attempt a new extreme. So in the case of a downtrend, that would be a new low. So you can see what I'm saying here. The bulls want to reach the other side of this range and the bears want to make a new low. So you have to stick with whatever price is doing in the moment. Now, when we get these two pushes down here, technically what you're getting is after the break of the downtrend, your first attempt lower and your second attempt lower. And if price holds above the EMA and it holds above, then you can look to get long and enter long on the failure because the downtrend would have two attempts. And after two attempts at reaching a new extreme, you can enter on a failure because after two attempts, that's generally when price reverses. This is how second entries form. This is why the market moves in pairs of two. It doesn't move in pairs of two just because it does it for no reason. It does it because price is attempting to do things, whether it's making a new extreme, reaching a measured move, reaching a magnet, such as an overnight level. So price moves in pairs of twos for a reason, not just because it does. And so anyway, back to here. So when we get these two pushes down here, it's not perfect how it's holding below the EMA. We have a clear rejection of the EMA there on that bar, another red bar there, and then a green bar, but it still can't get above. So far, it's just not looking great for a long, especially because now even when it is pushing above the EMA, it's still into the trend line. So it's really just not perfect. Drag this to here. At first, it's right off of that swing. It couldn't get above. So it's really just not perfect, especially when this downtrend is still in play. So this is, it's not worth going long on. Luckily, it doesn't trigger right there. Obviously, if it did, I can't say whether or not for sure it would have worked. All I know is that it's not a high probability setup and it's not something that I would risk taking. But it doesn't even trigger above the green bar. Not that, again, not that it would change anything. I still don't think that's a good looking entry to try to enter on. And so anyway, we push on lower here and there's no clear way to get in on the short either. Unfortunately, it kind of just fails out of nowhere. Now when price pushes lower here, we could get another couple attempts up and hold on the EMA, hold on this trend line right here. Like if at this point here we got two small legs up with a clear bearish reaction, then we could look to continue going short and we could look to get in on the short. And continue that second leg down. But as you can see, we don't get a clear entry. You can kind of see how there's two legs back right there, except it's really sideways and it's all within that lower trend line right there, or I should say range line. And so really there's nothing to take here. We push on lower here. At this point, it's becoming a little bit clearer. This two-legged move, downtrend, break, push to a new low. So at this point, the downtrend is considered played out. It has a new low. So, it's made its new extreme. This is a good place for a reversal, especially given it's breaking out of the overnight high, the overnight low. So if we fade back in here, this is a great place for a reversal pattern. We just have to consider this downtrend line, which I'm going to adjust it, or actually I'm just going to draw a new one. So at the time, this downtrend line was like this. And then it broke through it right there. And so when we break through that downtrend line, fading into the overnight low, that's telling you, okay, the bulls are winning out. We're likely to make a reversal pattern, except what ends up happening is as soon as it breaks out, it just immediately pushes back. It just pushes back out. So it just pushes back out of the overnight low. Unfortunately, there's no clear way to get in on that. It's already broken this trend line. It's not holding off of it. Even if it was holding off of it, I still wouldn't like it because we only have one clear attempt to fade. When you break out of an overnight level, you want to wait for two attempts to fade. That way you can get in on a fade failure. Because the chances of a successful fade are too high to just bet on a breakout to work, even after you get an attempt to fade. And I certainly wouldn't want to enter down here, not only because it only has one clear attempt to fade, you now have a small two-legged move down and you're entering at the end of the two-legged move. And so we just don't have good context for it. So anyway, we push on lower here, no clear entries on the way down. As soon as that measured move is met, it immediately starts reversing higher. Perfect reaction right there, pushes lower again, goes a little bit sideways, and then we get a much stronger reaction. So it's pushing right off of it. It's very important to understand these measured move levels, because this right here is not a coincidence. This is reacting to this level right here, and so it's really important to understand them, because oftentimes price will make a full-on reversal from this area here. This is price attempting to fade back into the overnight low at this point, because again, when you break out, you can expect price to attempt to fade, and we just met this measured move. So this is a high chance for a reversal pattern in this area. It just ends up, something came into the market and kept prices down, so it ends up not making a full reversal, obviously. So we push on down here. At this point, you can look to extend this trend line. And so then, since we had already pierced it right there, we can extend it because it continued on down, and then it ended up holding again right there. So we push on lower here. We continue through this measured move. When price breaks through a measured move level, a past measured move level, you can try to get in on a short if you get 2 attempts retesting that level. So like, if I extend this here, if we get 2 legs up retesting it, then we can look to get short. But as you can see, that doesn't happen. It ends up just pushing through, going a bit sideways, and then continuing on lower. So anyway, we continue on down. Again, just like I talked about right here, since price broke out and makes this push to a new low, we can look to extend the channel again, just because it's such a small break and it's still clearly going along around the same angle. So I ended up extending the channel to here just to see how it ends up fitting. But it is still important to understand that at this point, the downtrend does have a break and price is pushing down to a new extreme, just like a typical trend play out. And so if we push lower here, we can look to get in on a short and continue lower. So we push on down. Good place to get a couple legs back with a good bearish reaction and continue, get in on the second leg down, but it ends up just not doing that. We have a sharp push down, break, and then we make another push down, and we don't get any clear entries on the way back. I would have liked to see 2 clear legs up right there with a good bearish reaction, but it ends up just having 1 leg and getting above the EMA and then not having a perfect bar right after. So nothing here for me. And then at this point, I did extend it just to see how price would end up fitting. And as soon as we met this measured move, let me just copy this and drag it over. As soon as we met this measured move, we started pushing higher. Obviously, it pushed through a bit, but then we got this sharp spike up, break, and then another sharp spike up. So at this measured move right here, price starts pushing down. Now I want to put these highs to where it was at the time. So these highs are starting to form from this swing right here, and then right at that measured move, when price pushes below again, it's pretty clear that this is a good support level, or I should say resistance level. And so when price pushes lower here, I liked entering just from right here because we're getting below the EMA, we're already fading back in, good reaction to the measured move, and we're also, it's just broken this downtrend right here, so we can expect another attempt at a new low. So really everything is pointing towards shorts here. There is a concern with this trend line right here, and price did end up working along it like that. However, we were very, very bearish throughout the whole day, so I was willing to risk that. I was obviously hoping for price to just push on through it, but sometimes stuff like this will happen. We have great context, but this trend line definitely did slow down the trade a bit. And so anyway, just want to point out here, after these 2 legs up, that pushed us into 2 legs down before reversing higher again. So the market moves in pairs of 2s, all over the place. You'll see second entries, large second entries, smaller ones. Technically from here, this 2-legged move down is a second entry before pushing prices higher. It's just bigger than, to the tick. So anyway, and after we push, and one thing I want to point out again, just to show how common it is, after we got those 2 legs down, price pushed up again, leg up, break, and then a second leg up. We obviously got a little break there, making another leg, but overall you can still tell on a bigger picture it's another 2-legged move up. And so we push up to the highs, good place for a short, obviously. That's a range high. We can expect price to go back and forth, up and down between the range, just like I was explaining with the overnight levels. And so when we push up here, if we get a good bearish reaction and actually play out this uptrend with 2 attempts at a new high, we can look to get short. However, the problem is that we get these 2 attempts up, pushing out of the overnight, or not overnight, sorry, pushing out of the range high again. Now, since we've pushed out of this level here and faded back in, we now have 2 pierces through. So we have to consider extending the trend line up to there, which is where it was before I just moved it back down. And so after we push back in here, we can look to extend this trend line up to here, and then we get this reacting off of the sorry, I keep getting my terms mixed up here. I keep almost calling this the overnight high, off of the range high right here. However, we end up getting a very, it gets very sideways and choppy, rejects the EMA multiple times, and then even when it does close below there, you're into this trend line and into the lows right there, right after it got choppy and sideways. So it was just not a perfect looking trade. But then here we push up, and then that's when it's clear. So you know how, like I said, these were the first 2 attempts at a new high for this uptrend break. However, now that more price action is formed, we have to combine structures and we have to look at the bigger picture structures. So this right here is basically like a 2-legged break. This swing didn't push lower than this swing necessarily, but it's a double bottom, so it can be, it can really go either way. And then here, when price is breaking this structure, this range being the structure I'm talking about, that is now your bigger picture first attempt at a new high, and then you get your second bigger picture attempt at a new high. So do you see how these 2 attempts higher turned into just bigger picture attempts higher, and then that first leg is just the correction between the 2 legs in the 2-legged break right there. So you just got to learn how to combine structures and see the bigger picture. So yeah, it's just a part of trading. Eventually, just from looking at your chart, you'll be able to spot that in real time easier. But anyway, so right at this measured move right here, price starts pushing back down. It's pretty clear we have this slant upwards, 1, 2, 3 bounces right there. And then when we get this right here, this lower high, you obviously do not want to enter into that. Again, it has like 5 bounces on it, and it's really clear. So you don't want to enter into that. However, when we break through it here, I do like entering because of just, the amazing context for a short that we have. For all the way since over here, we've been having clear resistance off this level, and then at this level here, even though it's already shown clear resistance, the uptrend has a break, 2 clear pushes to a new high with a great bearish reaction, and we're getting under this trend line that we're worrying about. So I really like this right here. Great place for a short. And one other thing I want to mention is this break to a new low, because this downtrend has a break, 2 pushes to a new low before reversing, is all part of the trend on a bigger picture. It's a very small break to new low when you consider the size of the trend. And so basically what you have here is this is the break, and then from that break, we get the push down, and so uptrend, break, and then this is the start of that second leg up, and it was unable to get past this level here. So price is unable to even make a good 2-legged break for this downtrend. It's too bearish. Price is keeping price down, or this level is keeping price down very strong, so that's why I like going short right there. And we push on lower. We're finding resistance at these lows again, so if we push up here, we could get a failed second entry. Even though it's been very bearish all day, we have been going sideways for long enough that you can start to just play this range. I mean, there'd be no problem with me, entering long, as long as you get a very clear entry, holding above the EMA, clearly playing the range rules, and you could absolutely look to go long. But you do got to consider downtrend has a break. We are, price could make another leg at a new low, so you just really want to see price hold above with good bullish reactions before going long. But yeah, you can look to play this range both ways now. And so anyway, that's going to be it for the ES. I'm going to go ahead and hop over to the NQ chart. So here's the NQ. Again, overnight high, overnight low, key levels for the day. And right here what we get is price breaks out of the overnight low, which again, 8 a.m. is right here. Nothing on the way down here. We just get this push lower and break out of the overnight low. And then we get 2 attempts to fade. So like I mentioned in the previous chart lesson just now, you want to see 2 attempts to fade before buying the breakout, in this case, shorting the breakout. We have our first attempt up, second attempt up, bearish reaction to the overnight low, and this, as you can see, this is a limit order trade. We had this measured move in play. However, I still didn't want to push it too far past the swing right here just because this measured move up wasn't quite met, and I didn't want to combine that with pushing it past this swing, which I had pushed it past a little. I just didn't want to push it past too far. So pretty decent limit order in here. One other thing to consider is when price pulls back here, you now have this measured move in play. So I just didn't want to push it through too many resistance levels, or I should say support levels. But overall, this is a great looking trade. After the breakout, we have 2 attempts to fade, so this is a failure entry. We have the down measured move still in play with a great bearish reaction, and we're getting in decent with a limit order, not pushing it through too many resistance levels. So anyway, we push on through that here, very sharp leg down, and then we get a correction. So basically downtrend break, push to a new low, and then a failed reversal attempt, and then continuation down. And so nothing on the way down here. Unfortunately, we don't get any clear setups. When we push down here, it'd be nice to see a couple legs back with a sharp push below the EMA, but what ends up happening is, which I should have showed this a second ago actually, we have an overshoot. So this channel's in play, these highs, this low ends up not holding, it ends up just pushing on through, and so that's an overshoot. Overshoots tend to lead to breaks. They commonly lead to sharp spikes out the other side of the channel. However, in this case, price ends up retesting that low and then continuing on down. Now, when price is unable to push back into the trend after an overshoot, oftentimes the channel is just widening. So like here, we could just look to extend it and see how price holds on this new low, which it ends up holding very well, and I ended up keeping it there the whole time. I extended it a little lower to these swings here, and then that's where it really ended up fitting. And so, if you overshoot and then just retest and continue on down, then it could just be the channel widening, which is exactly what's happening in this case here. So as you can see, these 2 legs are clearly connected. It basically acted as a downtrend break and then 2 legs to a new low. I have not measured these out, but these look measured. Yeah, this is a measured move right here. So as soon as this measured move is met, price reverses on higher, and a good place for a reversal pattern. If we get a large push up, couple legs back with a clear pushback above the EMA, then we can look to go long. We're not too far broken out to not go long at this point. We can still look to fade the overnight level. If we get a good reversal pattern, then we can get long to do that. We just don't get that reversal pattern. It ends up making a double top right here and then pushing on lower, going into this pretty clear range right here. The EMA is going flat, it's going sideways, which is, what it does in a range. And so when we push out here, we break out, we can expect price to, excuse me, when price breaks out of this range here, we can expect price to fade back in. And so when price reaches this measured move, this is a great opportunity to get in on a long to do that. However, it's unable to get above the EMA. What I was hoping for was price to push back up right at that measured move with a bullish reaction, making a failed second entry, pushing back into this range right here, holding on the lows for a long. But as you can see, the bears really came in here. It's unable to even get above the EMA. You got a couple attempts up and then another push down. It's basically just riding right along these lows right here. And then out of nowhere, we get this sharp spike up. It makes a double bottom and then another leg up. Even though it made a double bottom and this low technically did go a little lower than this low with the bodies, it still is. It's clearly a 2-legged move. And it is a good place to look for a short. However, we just barely missed the measured move and also missed the retest, which is what I was really wanting. However, even if you don't get that, you still can look to get short if you get a good setup. And unfortunately, price rejects the EMA the entire time. We get a rejection there, another EMA rejection, and then on this right here, at this point, you have a little failed second entry, and it's still not able to get below the EMA. So, as bearish as it's been all day, to me, at this point, it's looking like it could straight up reverse because we have a very sharp spike up, unable to get below the EMA. You just don't know that it's going to continue on down from there, so I skipped it. I believe on the ES, because there's a trade I took on ES, I believe it was right in this area here at the same time, and the whole context was just different on the ES. Let me hop back to that really quick. So this is at around 10:30, and yeah, that's the same one. You have the 2 legs back here, but we're expecting a new low for this downtrend. We were holding off of this range high right here. However, on the NQ in that same area, it just didn't quite set up as well. So, sometimes that's going to happen. One thing, that people do is they'll try to enter on both, but every now and then, like if you get a correction on the NQ that stops you out, it might only be a smaller correction on the ES. And so that's why I don't like to, I don't like to trade one market based off the other, just because sometimes, anyway, getting back to this here. So we push on lower here, we reach these lows, and then when we find some resistance here, this would be another good place, because at first we get a bullish reaction. If we had continued on higher here, then we could have gotten a failed second entry reversal pattern. It is very bearish at this point, but what that could push into is a two-legged move to the highs and look to get short and continue playing this range. But instead, it ends up just pushing back out even more, but we still end up getting a fade. And I don't like this higher low. Like, if we got a perfect failed second entry, a perfect reversal pattern, then I would have liked to go long here, if, as long as it's like actually a really perfect reversal pattern, because you do have to consider that it's been going down all day, and that would be a counter trend trade. Now, counter trend trading is not a good idea. I'm not going to act like I never do it, because there are situations when it's fine, but this, the way that it sets up here, this is not one of those times. Even though you see it work here, that doesn't mean it's going to work out like that next time. So I want to see a clear reversal pattern, a push up with two legs back while expecting a new high for the uptrend. So like right here, this little uptrend has a break and a new high already. So even though this is technically a failed second entry, this is a reversal pattern, because from the low we have first entry short, second entry short failure. It's not a perfect reversal pattern, and we don't have perfect context for it. So the point is, I would just want to see a perfect reversal pattern, not one that has an uptrend with a break and a new high already, because that uptrend is considered played out. So this is basically just like a higher low. So anyway, we push on up here, we have an uptrend, break, price starts pushing up to a new high, and as long as we hold above the EMA and price is clear, we can look to get long to make that new high. But we just don't get any clear entries here. It's very sideways right here. We push up, it's completely sideways again, and then we reach the high, and then we just plummet on down. Now when we reach this high and have a good bearish reaction right there, if we push below, we could get, again, like I always mention on these ranges here, it's a good place to get a failed second entry. So if we get a failed second entry that holds below the EMA, we can look to get short. Now, I just didn't like this higher low, because not only is it really choppy in this area overall, but we had a very bullish pushback above the EMA, and then we barely got back below it. So it doesn't seem like it's really holding off of anything, and I don't like combining that with how choppy it is. So anyway, we continue on down here. We reach the lows, small reaction before, excuse me, small reaction before pushing on lower, and now we have this right here. So we've got a downtrend with a break and a push to a new low. So far we have this failed reversal, pushed up a little bit, and now it's already pushing back down. I shouldn't call it a failed reversal, because it hasn't broken this swing yet, but it's looking not too good for a reversal right there. So anyway, that's going to be it for the video. One thing I will say that could happen, since we're making this double bottom right here, and it had a decent push above, if that continues, then as bearish as it's been, we can get along, as long as it's actually holding above this level right here with a good reaction. If we push up here, get a couple legs back, get a very cookie cutter reversal pattern, then we can look to get long. Because if we get this right here, then it would be a two-legged break from this uptrend, and the uptrend would still be in play, and we could look to make a new high for it, look to get in on the second leg up. So anyway, if that doesn't happen, then hopefully we can just get something up here off the highs, ideally maybe breaking out, testing the channel, and then pushing back in and fading, and then getting a short in on the fade. That's what I'd like to see. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I really hope it helped out in some way, and thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time.